eventually become states. Joe St. George explains.
Our nation's flag, 50 stars symbolizing the 50 states. If you were born after 1959 when Hawaii became a state, 50 is all you've ever known.
This is the first century where we haven't admitted a new state yet. That flag used to change and get more and more stars on it.
But if you ask Washington, D.C. Shadow Senator Paul Strauss, America's flag needs an update because the number of states needs an update. As a shadow senator, he gets to have an office near the Capitol, but not much more.
I'm not allowed to vote for them on the floor or even in committee.
Strauss believes this year's election could finally make D.C. a state because he believes Democrats have a chance to sweep and win the House, Senate, and White House. After all, Democrats in the House have already passed legislation to make D.C. a state. Joe Biden has endorsed it. Senate Democrats have even discussed eliminating the filibuster, which means D.C. would become a state with 51 senators voting yes instead of current rules, which require 60. Puerto Rico could even become a state too. D.C.'s senator says it's a shame hundreds of thousands of Americans live here, but have no real representation in Congress.
We are subjected to taxation without representation.
Democrats, of course, have a political motive in making Washington, D.C. the 51st state. The town is overwhelmingly Democrat. Only 4% of the city voted for President Donald Trump 4 years ago, which means there would almost certainly be 2 more Democratic senators in the United States Senate to pass progressive laws.
Schumer and Pelosi are very clear that's where they're heading next. D.C. statehood.
In fact, out in Montana, which is about as far from D.C. as you can get, this is an issue on the campaign trail. Republican Senator Steve Daines, who is up for re-election, telling us it'll be that much harder for Republicans to ever be in control again with 2 more Democratic senators. He's hoping this will mobilize people to vote Republican.
This is not about the voice of the people of District of Columbia. This is a raw power play.
Daines says if D.C. wants representation, perhaps Virginia or Maryland should annex part of the booming city where people live. Strauss says that's absurd.
We want to join the Union. What could be more patriotic than American than that?
In Washington, I'm Joe St. George.
One familiar face will take an active role in the 2020 presidential election, Hillary Clinton. She's one of New York's electors in the Electoral College. Clinton has spoken out against the Electoral College and called for its elimination for the past 20 years. Twitter, Facebook, and Google are in hot water with the Republican Party. The CEO of each network went before the Senate Commerce Committee today. Republican senators are claiming the tech giants show anti-conservative bias on their platforms. It comes after Facebook and Twitter limited shares of an unverified political story from the New York Post about Joe Biden and his son Hunter. During the hearing, senators reviewed proposals on legal protections for online speech.
Governor Abbott swinging through Houston earlier today to speak at the Police Officers Union. He signed his Back the Blue pledge as he demanded cities stop cutting police budgets. The governor is crisscrossing the state, encouraging lawmakers to prevent measures that would defund police departments.
Efforts to defund the police, like what we've seen in Austin and echoes of which are reverberating in cities across the state, they are disgraceful and they are reckless. It invites crime into our communities, and it endangers law enforcement officers and their families.
The governor also asking the state legislature to pass laws that would prevent money from being diverted from local police entities.
Well, it's been almost 20 years since Texas has seen a day with no deadly car accidents. The unfortunate streak has killed 70,000 people so far. A Texas Transportation Institute report found drivers' average speeds are increasing. More than 900 people died without their seatbelts fastened. That's a 27% increase compared to last year. The reports found that on average, 10 people die each day on the roads in Texas. Records show there have been 371 fatal crashes in McLennan County over the past 20 years. 46 were because of distracted driving and 118 were alcohol involved. 98 happened at intersections and 37 happened in work zones. The data also says 80 were a result of speeding. This year has seen 30 traffic fatalities in the county so far.
Those numbers might be shocking, and here is some more disturbing proof that accidents are still happening every day. One man posting a video of himself drinking behind the wheel on Facebook Live just minutes before crashing that car, killing all 3 of his passengers. The video shows Camilo Morion swigging a bottle of beer while driving his girlfriend and 2 others over this past weekend. Less than 10 minutes later, police say he crashed into a truck, killing all 3 of the passengers and injuring himself and the other driver. Because of these kinds of accidents, first responders trained to save lives. Today is National First Responders Day. It recognizes the heroic men and women who dedicate their lives to help when others won't or can't. To all the firefighters, police, paramedics, and more, we are grateful for your hard work and bravery. Let's get a first check of weather this evening with Chief Meteorologist Matt Hines. Matt, the sun actually coming out this afternoon.
Yeah, it was nice to see that sunshine earlier today, and the radar is quiet tonight. It's going to be quiet for the rest of the week going into the weekend, so you can put the umbrella away for now. And as we check out what's going on, temperature-wise, it is pretty chilly already. 42 degrees in Waco, 45 Temple and Killeen, and 41 in Centerville. It's pretty uniform all across central Texas and the Brazos Valley, and we will continue to see that chill. The wind's not too bad right now, but some wind chills falling into the upper 30s. As we head into the morning hours, that's where we're really going to notice in our bus stop forecast the wind starting to pick up. Temperatures will be in the upper 30s. It'll feel like the upper 20s and lower 30s when you factor in that wind. That will be gusting up to 20 miles per hour in the morning, gusting over 30, maybe 35 miles per hour for the afternoon. 53 degrees, few clouds out there, windy conditions, so those temperatures in the 50s will feel quite chilly. But it does improve. Less wind Friday, and it warms up for your Halloween. More on that coming up.
All right, Matt, thank you. A famous country music legend passes away.
Tonight, we've got more on how Texans are remembering Billy Joe Shaver.
And East Waco is finally getting its first bank in more than 100 years. Coming up, why it's an important move for the area going through revitalization.
A country music legend from right here in Central Texas will sing no more. Billy Joe Shaver died of a stroke this morning at Ascension Providence Hospital. 25 News reporter Dennis Turner looks back at his incredible life.
Billy Joe Shaver helped usher in a new kind of country music, a kind that relied less on cheating spouses, pickup trucks, and hound dogs, and more on the grit and grime of real life. He didn't have the easiest start. He couldn't even get a ride to Tennessee.
It's getting dark. I've been out there all damn day long. Nobody's stopping.
Once he did get to the Music City, he joined good friend and neighbor Willie Nelson of Hill County and other songwriters who gave country music a new look.
92.9 Shooter FM.
Shaver made a lot of friends along the way due to his kindness. Jim Nash at 92.9 Shooter FM said, "You couldn't find a better friend than Billy Joe Shaver."
But I was not feeling real great that night. I was kind of down a little bit. And without ever saying a word to him, before I left the room, he gave me a hug and he said, "God loves you, everything's going to be all right."
Friends knew him as kind, generous, but sometimes moody. And one night at Papa Joe's in Lorena, his mood got the better of him during a friendly card game. It started when he and another man had words. To this day, witnesses say Shaver stood right about here, pulled his gun, and asked the man, "Where do you want it?" before shooting. It left the man injured and bleeding badly, but Shaver walked over to his wife, and the two left.
Man, everybody was just stunned, and Billy Joe Shaver was really kind of casual about it.
As bystanders waited for an ambulance, a phone call came.
It wasn't maybe 30, 45 minutes later that Willie Nelson called up here to want to know what had happened.
A jury acquitted Shaver, but neither he nor the other man ever came back to Papa Joe's. What was behind it?
I kind of figured that it was jealousy.
But more than that one incident, Shaver's remembered for what he gave audiences.
He's one of those guys that could put you in the palm of his hand throughout his entire show and take you on a ride. And when he was done with you, he'd set you down and he'd leave stage.
And now he's left the stage for good. In Lorena, Dennis Turner, 25 News.
Dennis, thank you. Well, in more news tonight, people in East Waco are gearing up to welcome their very first bank in over a decade. 25 News reporter Joel Lopez got an exclusive first look inside the new bank and what it means for the community.
What's just a bank to some is a lifeline to others, and having TFNB open their doors on Monday will give people in East Waco the opportunity to get on the right financial track to better themselves and the community. TFNB is located along Elm Avenue at the site of the former Train Waco CrossFit gym. This after a lot of work in asking the community what it was they needed to help revitalize East Waco and the people within it.
I think that East Waco hasn't seen the kinds of investment that are needed to make the community thrive. And I think the investments that are coming in right now really will bring things that are needed and bring people together.
The bank isn't the only change in the works. There are 3 hotels under construction and the Elm Avenue streetscape project to give people a new pedestrian experience with new landscaping and sidewalks. The hotels and the streetscape projects are expected to be completed within the next 2 to 3 years. Meanwhile, staff at TFNB says people have already been calling, eager to get started on their new bank accounts. Reporting in East Waco, Joel Lopez, 25 News.
Joel, thank you. Monday is the ribbon cutting ceremony from 11:45 to 1. Then at 1, TFNB will be open for the public to welcome people and help open up accounts. On November 19th, the bank is hosting a community open house to greet more people. They'll have a band, food trucks, and merchandise to give away.
More than 3,300 homeless youth in Central Texas are getting a big boost. The Heart of Texas Homeless Coalition receiving a more than $2 million grant from HUD to develop projects and strategies to help those youth find good, reliable homes over the next 2 years.
Now let's check out some of our numbers from our coronavirus tracker desk. Today, the state saw more than 5,100 new cases of COVID-19 and a bit of an increase from yesterday. There were 105 new deaths reported. In total, throughout the state, there have been over 17,000 COVID-19 related deaths. And in El Paso, the most recent surge in COVID-19 cases is pushing hospitals there to limit to their absolute limits. Right now, some hospital staff are setting up emergency isolation tents in the parking lots where COVID-19 overflow patients are being sent. University Medical Center is also talking about airlifting non-COVID patients who need critical care to other Texas facilities to try to make even more room.
CVS wants to add rapid result testing at nearly 1,000 locations by the end of the year. The tests are available at no cost to patients who meet CDC criteria. Most results are generally available only within 2 to 3 days. You have to register in advance at cvs.com to schedule any type of appointment.
Well, many restaurants have had to switch up things and what they're doing because of the pandemic.
Up next, find out what Panera is adding to its menu later this year.
Well, the rain's out of here, but the chill, well, it's not, and it will stick around as we make our way through the overnight hours tonight. Look at this, 44 degrees, but the winds have gone calm. They're not going to stay there, and by morning, we're going to see those winds really start to pick up. But right now, things are pretty calm and clear, and again, it is chilly across the region, and it will stay that way. I want to touch on the tropics real quick and show you what's going on with Hurricane Zeta as it continues to work its way north of Mobile, which they had a wind gust of 91 miles per hour a couple of hours ago. New Orleans pretty much done, just some breezy conditions. This thing's moving, folks. Northeast at 31 miles per hour. That's really fast for a tropical system. Still 80 mile per hour sustained winds and classified as a hurricane with gusts to 105. But again, with that fast motion, it's probably going to be off the east coast of the United States by tomorrow. So we're looking at a definite fast moving system there. So we have the hurricane that moved through New Orleans. We have a snowstorm up into the Texas Panhandle, and we're just kind of stuck in between with some pretty decent weather going on right now. But look at this. I know you're going to be jealous, snow lovers, as they have picked up 4 to 6 inches of snow in the Panhandle in the past 5 or 6 hours with just a heavy band of snow up there. All right, I won't make you suffer. As we take a look at what's going on for tomorrow, that system is going to